If you thought Meghan Markle's partnership with Netflix was already complicated, things have now taken a sharp and messy turn. What began as a high-profile, multi-million-dollar content deal has reportedly devolved into one of the most chaotic internal dramas the streaming giant has faced in recent years. The glitz of photo ops and PR gloss couldn't cover up the turmoil behind the scenes. According to insiders, tensions exploded during a private screening for With Love, Meghan Season 2, a session personally arranged by Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos. It was meant to be a celebration, showcasing the first few finished episodes to the top brass and production team. But instead of applause, the room quickly turned into a battlefield. Things started professionally enough, with cast members, editors, and crew offering constructive feedback, noting continuity problems, clunky transitions, and even grammar issues in Meghan's scripted dialogue. The atmosphere was tense, but respectful. That is, until Meghan reportedly lost her composure. In front of the entire room, including Sarandos, she lashed out, accusing the crew of undermining her and dismissing their criticism as petty and personal. She claimed the feedback wasn't about quality, but sabotage, branding the professionals in the room as hecklers rather than collaborators. The outburst stunned everyone present and revealed just how fractured the working dynamic had become. No one saw it coming. Not in a room filled with professionals who had been working long, exhausting hours to bring Meghan Markle's project to life. But as feedback started rolling in during the private screening, things took a shocking turn. Meghan didn't just push back on the criticism, she unleashed a tirade that left everyone in the room stunned. She claimed that the entire team owed their positions at Netflix to her, insisting they should be thanking her, not pointing out flaws. The silence that followed, no one offering the gratitude she demanded, only fueled her fury. In a moment of raw frustration, she stormed out of the screening without offering any apology or clarification. As she left, she issued a sharp warning. Anyone who continued to question her work or offer criticism would never succeed in the industry. The aftermath was chaotic. Crew members were shaken, some reported feeling threatened, others requested to be moved off the project. People who had once believed in Meghan's creative vision admitted they no longer recognized the person behind it. And this dramatic meltdown came on the heels of Netflix's quiet decision to sever ties with her. Just days before the outburst, the company had opted not to renew her overall content deal. No third season, no spin-offs, no additional projects. While the show's performance wasn't the issue, insiders say the decision boiled down to her increasingly difficult behavior. For Netflix leadership, including Ted Sarandos and co-CEO Greg Peters, the disastrous screening was simply the final confirmation. Meghan Markle had become more trouble than she was worth. Netflix insiders revealed that since her contract was terminated, Meghan Markle has been relentlessly trying to claw her way back into the streaming giant's good graces. She's reportedly reached out to Ted Sarandos multiple times, pitching one-off projects, travel specials, and redemption-themed content. But the answer from Netflix has been consistent: no. That explosive moment during the internal screening when she lashed out at her own team wasn't just a misstep. It was the moment Netflix decided they were officially done. It was personal. She crossed a line, and there's no reopening that door now. Within Netflix HQ, the aftermath was swift. News of Meghan's outburst spread like wildfire. Even those who weren't in the room, editors, marketing teams, assistants, were soon trading stories and speculating about what really happened. Some described it as a meltdown, others called it a display of ego, but everyone agreed. The energy around her project had shifted. Ted Sarandos may have stayed composed during the screening, but those present said his expression made it clear the decision had already been made. Netflix wasn't going to stick around for more drama, despite having invested millions into Season 2. Executives debated whether it was even worth releasing. Some insiders say shelving the show was seriously considered just to avoid further backlash. Ultimately, the challenge became how to release the content with minimal noise and maximum distance from Meghan herself. But while Netflix quietly began damage control, Meghan reportedly carried on as if she were still in charge, still pitching ideas, still acting like the captain of a ship that had already left the harbor without her. The shift in energy around Meghan Markle's Netflix project wasn't sudden It was a slow, unraveling decline that reached its breaking point with that explosive screening. The next day, Meghan reportedly summoned two of her executive producers to a private meeting attempting to control the narrative. According to sources close to the production, she claimed the entire screening had been a setup, designed to embarrass her in front of top executives. She blamed post-production teams for the errors, accused Netflix of using her as a scapegoat, and demanded immediate re-edits. She even went so far as to insist that no future screenings take place without her explicit approval. Outwardly, her producers nodded along, but behind the scenes, the tone was very different. One of them quietly emailed Netflix leadership, distancing themselves from her behavior and describing the situation as untenable. That email reportedly opened the floodgates. More crew members began coming forward with complaints that had been simmering for months. Allegations of Meghan being overly controlling, dismissive of crew input, and harsh in her delivery became common. One person recalled her publicly criticizing wardrobe options as cheap, while another claimed she wouldn't film unless the lighting made her look presidential. Ironically, things hadn't started this way. In the early days of the partnership, Meghan had been polished, enthusiastic, and full of vision. Her concept for With Love, Meghan had excited Netflix executives, a globe-trotting series, highlighting heartfelt stories and empowering interviews with influential women. But somewhere along the line, that vision got lost. What was once a promising collaboration began to feel more like damage control, as the star who had charmed the boardroom slowly became the liability no one wanted to manage. What was originally envisioned as a compelling cultural series slowly devolved into something unrecognizable, a glossy vanity project centered almost entirely around Meghan Markle herself. Instead of spotlighting global voices and meaningful stories, the show became saturated with Meghan's presence. Her name in the title, her face in nearly every frame, and her voice guiding every scene. The concept of showcasing diverse narratives gave way to an overwhelming focus on personal image and self-promotion as the show's direction drifted away from its original purpose. Internal enthusiasm at Netflix began to wane. Executives who had once eagerly backed her started distancing themselves. Creative consultants left mid-season, and even Netflix's battle-tested PR team struggled to contain the mounting issues. One anonymous insider quipped that working on Meghan's show felt like polishing a statue that keeps melting, an effort that was ultimately futile. Despite the growing chaos, Meghan reportedly remained convinced she could salvage the situation. She continued pitching new ideas, including a luxury shopping series, a spiritual travel documentary, a podcast visual hybrid so confusing that no one could even define it. But Netflix executives had already made their decision. Her proposals were met with silence. Co-CEO Greg Peters allegedly instructed his team to block her emails entirely, while Ted Sarandos, though more diplomatic, made it known internally that Meghan was no longer part of Netflix's future. No meetings, no discussions, no second chances. The collapse of her Netflix deal didn't stay isolated, triggered a broader unraveling of Meghan's brand. People once considered her inner circle, stylists, advisors, and consultants began pulling away. At first, the withdrawal was subtle: rescheduled meetings, ignored messages, missed calls. But soon it became unmistakable. Agencies stopped returning emails. A prominent PR firm that had worked with her since her post-royal debut dropped her without a word, no explanation, no statement, just a clean, quiet exit. In the echo chambers of Hollywood, Meghan Markle was no longer viewed as a rising media figure. She was becoming a cautionary tale. Not because Meghan lacked talent, but because she managed to burn through goodwill faster than anyone could have anticipated. One studio executive summed it up bluntly: "You can be demanding, but you can't be delusional." And Meghan's out here acting like she's Oprah and Beyoncé combined. That quote, cutting and sharp, quickly made the rounds, whispered in private chats. It's passed through group threads, and even joked about in boardrooms. The strangest part? Meghan seemed completely unfazed, at least publicly. She appeared at a charity gala just weeks later, dressed in a custom designer gown, all smiles and sparkle for the cameras, as if nothing had gone wrong. But behind the scenes, her team was in full-blown crisis mode. The offers weren't just slowing down, they'd stopped entirely. No calls from studios, no interest from networks, not even a bite from smaller streaming services hoping for. A controversial breakout. Everyone was watching Netflix's next move, and when Netflix shut the door, so did the rest of the industry. She tried to pivot. First came the podcast comeback, this time pitched as raw, unscripted, and unfiltered. Just Meghan speaking her truth. The catch? Spotify had already walked away, and no other platform wanted to take the gamble. Then came the Instagram rebrand. New profile pictures, vague wellness-style captions, and a flurry of inspirational quotes. But it fell flat. Engagement was dismal, the comments were unkind, and her attempts to reclaim an influencer image fizzled out within days. Quiet murmurs from people once close to her started leaking. Not in interviews, but in tips, anonymous emails, and whispers to journalists. They painted a picture of someone spiraling, staying up all night reading gossip forums, refreshing headlines, calling former colleagues at odd hours, demanding to know why they weren't defending her online. It was as if her grip on control had cracked. She couldn't find a way to put the pieces back together. Then came the last-ditch effort, direct personal appeal to Ted Sarandos. A message meant to bypass publicists, lawyers, and assistants. Just Meghan, reaching out one-on-one, trying to salvage what was already lost. But by then, the silence from Netflix said everything. Meghan reportedly sent Ted Sarandos a heartfelt, detailed email, a final pitch for a one-off Netflix special. It was framed as something intimate, raw, and redemptive. A chance to reclaim her image and showcase resilience. Even offered to produce it herself, fund part of the project, and allow Netflix full editorial control. An unprecedented gesture from someone who had once insisted on creative authority. But Ted didn't respond. Instead, the email was quietly forwarded to the legal department. That moment was the final confirmation. The door wasn't just closed, it was bolted shut. The very executives who once touted Meghan as a game changer were now ensuring she couldn't find a way back in. Statements were released, no goodbyes posted online, just a deafening silence. Projects were shelved, meetings vanished from calendars. Her name, once seen as an asset, became a liability. Hollywood, ever concerned with optics, didn't want the noise anymore. In an industry built on image, Meghan had lost hers. This wasn't just a professional setback, it was an erasure. Quiet, deliberate, and complete. And now, what remains is the echo of a missed opportunity. A woman who once had global influence, a massive platform, and all the tools to reshape her narrative, until she pushed it all away.